What's up, guys? So today I want to talk a little bit about the legendary system that Blizzard has currently got in motion on the Warlords of Draenor beta, and aside from some little tweaks here and there, will probably end up being in the package when Warlords of Draenor releases on November the 13th. So Blizzard has said that they were quite happy with the way the legendary questline worked out in Mist of Pandaria, and wanted to do something a little similar in Warlords of Draenor, and that is working with Archmage Khadgar to craft a legendary ring. So I haven't looked too much into the ring's questline so far on the beta, but I do know that it has us going into certain dungeons as of now, and it's not so much just a grindy questline. I think they wanted to cut that out for this new questline. I think they learned a lot from the feedback of the Mist of Pandaria one. They wanted to cut a lot of the crap out, like making a PvP quest a requirement for a PvE quest chain. I'm not quite sure who thought that was a good idea, but anyway, they want to cut stuff like that out, and they want to make it a little more alt-friendly. So I think Blizzard finally realized that if you're going to make a legendary quest line accessible to all classes and all specs, then it's pretty much a raid requirement in the raiding scene. Like, I don't know any serious progression raiding guild today that will take you onto their roster unless you've got the cloak, or at least very close to it. Especially when you make the collectible parts accessible through the LFR system, everybody, at least when you're raiding normals and heroics, are going to expect you to have that cloak. So someone at the 2013 BlizzCon basically asked this very thing to the devs. Check it out.
Hi again, this is Verena of the Sentinels of Ravenhold. My question is about the legendary. I've worked on 2 legendaries now. I worked on Dragwrath, got that done. It felt like a huge accomplishment. This one just feels like a raid requirement. Is that something you're going to see again in the future, or?
I think that we definitely want to do a legendary quest line. I don't think that those are exclusive concepts. I think that something we want to get in 6.0 is both a legendary quest line for a type of item, kind of like the cape, while also being able to do the other types of legendaries that are a lot more exclusive to, killing a really hard boss. So in the same way that, right now we have the Garrosh heirloom weapons, those are a little bit more exclusive, almost like the old legendaries worked. They aren't really exactly the same, but more along those lines. And I really think that we can have a balance between both of them.
So this clip got me really excited, and it's because Tom Chilton, the developer who responded to the guy's question, said he thinks you can have a balance of both the legendary quest line, where it's accessible to everybody through things like the LFR system and can connect to each class and each spec, and also have legendaries that are a little more exclusive for the high-end raiders, or raiders who are raiding heroic and mythic raiding in Warlords of Draenor. So how would something like this work? Well, currently the heirloom weapons, like Tom Chilton mentions, is a little more exclusive to those type of raiders, and I think that's probably the best way to go, because legendary quest lines in the past, they're very, very detailed, and they've got a lot of stuff to them, and I don't think that's really practical for the Blizz devs to work on a legendary questline for each class and each spec and put that much work into it. So I think something like the Garrosh heirloom weapons would probably be the best way to go. So if you defeat the final boss in Warlords, then you've got a low chance, perhaps a little lower than the heirloom weapon drop, to get a weapon that is appropriate for your class. And so obviously, because they're legendary weapons, they've got to have a lot of lore attached to them. So where do we get a nice group of legendary weapons that each class and each role can use? So I think you need to look at the name of the expansion. It's called Warlords of Draenor, and we're going to be working with and taking down a lot of these epic lore characters like Grom Hellscream and Blackhand, Kargath Bladefist, Ner'zhul, Gul'dan, and all of these characters wield very, very powerful and legendary weapons. So if you take Gorehel, for example, which would probably be a legendary two-handed strength axe for paladins, warriors, death knights, those kind of guys, and you have it drop off the final boss and have it be a random chance. So when you get it, it's just a very joyous moment, and it's very it just kind of revives that legendary feel of getting this epic item that's very exclusive to the kind of content you're doing. And I think that we can all admit that getting the cloak the day that it was released, about a year or so ago when Siege of Orgrimmar was released, it didn't feel very legendary. It just kind of felt like this long grind of crap was over, finally, and having everybody get it at the exact same time kind of killed that legendary feel. So if you look as far back as the Burning Crusade, where you've got the 2 legendary Warglaives that drop off of Illidan, and the legendary bow that drops off of Kil'jaeden, these items had a very low chance of dropping, and when somebody got them in your raid, it was just a very cool thing, and when you saw somebody walking around the major cities with these items on, it was just a very unique thing, and everybody kind of noticed them right away. So the issue with those legendaries was because they had such a low chance of dropping, you had many people competing with one another trying to get these items, and I think that ultimately that created a lot of problems and a lot of tension within raid groups and guilds. So if you move to the Garrosh heirloom structure, where these items have a low chance of dropping but it's all personal loot, then I think that kind of takes away that frustration and competition with the other guild members. And yeah, it could be a little frustrating seeing other people get it if you got yours last and you've been killing the boss for months now and you still haven't gotten that piece of loot. It can get a little frustrating, but I think once you eventually get it, it's just a really epic feeling. So I've had some discussions with my friends about this kind of topic, and one of the suggestions that was brought up was having these legendary weapons drop off the final boss on the mythic difficulty. Now, I think that does make it very exclusive to the high-end raiders, but I think the only issue with that is once you get that item, you've already defeated the final boss on mythic difficulty, so there's nothing else to kind of push for after that raid with this legendary item that you worked so hard for. So I think having these legendary weapons drop off of the heroic versions of the boss and the mythic versions of the boss is probably the best way to go. I don't think they should have a heroic and mythic tag attached to them. I think it should just be the weapon and it's got a standalone eye level. So anyway guys, that's my whole take on the legendary system, and if you've got some of your own opinions, be sure to leave a comment below. I'd love to read some of the suggestions you guys have. If you hate my opinions or if you like them, love to hear it either way. Have a good one, guys.